The Battle of Nagashino, fought on June 28, 1575, in Mikawa Province, stands as one of the most pivotal clashes of Japan's Sengoku period, not only because of its scale, but also for the way it demonstrated the decisive potential of firearms in transforming the conduct of samurai warfare. The confrontation arose when Takeda Katsuyori, son and heir of the renowned warlord Takeda Shingen, sought to consolidate his clan's influence in central Japan by capturing Nagashino Castle, a strategically located Tokugawa fortress controlling important routes between Mikawa and Shinano. The castle's commander, Okudaira Sadamasa, had previously served the Takeda but defected to Tokugawa Ieyasu, making his position both a political and personal affront to Katsuyori. In early June 1575, the Takeda army, numbering about 15,000 and famed for its elite mounted warriors, laid siege to Nagashino, cutting supply lines and launching repeated assaults. Despite being heavily outnumbered within the walls, Sadamasa's garrison of roughly 500 to 600 men mounted a determined defense, repelling attacks and sending desperate messengers through enemy lines to request aid from Ieyasu. Recognizing the strategic danger of losing Nagashino, Ieyasu appealed to his powerful ally, Oda Nobunaga, who responded with characteristic speed and decisiveness, mobilizing an army of about 30,000 troops. Combining forces with Ieyasu's 8,000, the Oda-Tokugawa alliance assembled an imposing host of around 38,000 men. Nobunaga, however, knew that sheer numbers were insufficient against the famed Takeda cavalry, whose charges had crushed many larger armies in previous campaigns. He devised a defensive strategy that blended traditional fortification with the innovative large-scale use of matchlock arquebuses, weapons introduced to Japan by Portuguese traders in 1543 and gradually adopted by forward-thinking daimyo. Nobunaga ordered the construction of extensive wooden palisades in 3 staggered lines along the plain of Shitaragahara, the expected battlefield. These barriers, with deliberate gaps for counterattacks and troop movement, served to break up and channel enemy charges, while protecting the gunners behind them. Behind the palisades, he positioned approximately 3,000 arquebussers, arranged in rotating ranks of 3 lines, allowing for continuous volley fire. As one line discharged, the next prepared to fire, and the third reloaded. This method, inspired in part by European musketry tactics but adapted to Japanese conditions, ensured a relentless curtain of bullets. On the morning of June 28th, the weather played directly into Nobunaga's hands. Heavy rains in the days before had turned the ground into a muddy quagmire, robbing the Takeda cavalry of the speed and shock power that had been their hallmark. Despite this, Katsuyori, perhaps overestimating his men's prowess and underestimating Nobunaga's preparations, ordered successive cavalry charges against the Oda-Tokugawa positions. Wave after wave of Takeda horsemen surged forward, but the combination of treacherous footing, wooden barriers, and unbroken gunfire decimated them before they could close for melee combat. Horses and riders fell in heaps, their momentum dissipated long before reaching the defenders. The disciplined arquebussers maintained their rotation without panic, an unusual feat in Sengoku warfare, where gun troops often fired in uncontrolled bursts. The result was catastrophic for the Takeda. An estimated 10,000 of Tatsuyori's men were killed, including many of his most trusted generals and veteran warriors. The psychological blow was immense. The aura of invincibility surrounding the Takeda cavalry was shattered forever. In the aftermath, Nagashino entered Japanese history as the prime example of how modern weaponry and tactical foresight could overcome even the most celebrated traditional fighting forces. For Nobunaga, the victory solidified his reputation as a brilliant and pragmatic commander, willing to break with tradition in pursuit of strategic advantage, while for Ieyasu, it further secured his position and strengthened his alliance with Nobunaga.
For Katsuyori, the defeat marked the beginning of the end. The Takeda clan's power steadily eroded, culminating in its destruction less than a decade later.